Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nerdist Book Club. I am super excited about this week's book, and I have a feeling a lot of people in the chat are. So hello to all the newbies out there who have read Throne of Glass and are excited for this one. You are watching Nerdist Book Club. If you're on Nerdist YouTube, a big hello, but you could also be watching on Geek and Sundry's Twitch too. And if you're in any of those, give it a follow, like, hearts, all that jazz. Hey there, I'm Maude Garrett, president of the Throne of Glass fan club. This is my third time through. Joining me as always are Rachel Heine and Hector Navarro, who are diving into this series for the first time. Hi guys.
Hi. I'm gonna need help.
I just had a near-death experience, so apologies.
That's true. Rachel almost lost both of her eyes in a horrible corking incident. Corking incident. Yeah. It turns out if a bottle falls, Rachel, it will pick up the pressure. And then you kind of...
I forgot. What happened was I removed the top of sparkling wine and was holding it and saying something, and it popped on its own, and I was very startled. Anyway, hi guys, how you doing?
Hi. Hey everybody. Hello, clever girl in the chat. I'm going to need help with pronunciation from Maude and from the chat. I already see it happening.
Apparently we don't have too much sound for some people. Some people are experiencing sound issues. Some people aren't. Good thing the VOD will be there. So we're going to keep going with the show because other people are saying it's okay. If this is your first time joining, a big hello to you. Nerdist Book Club is an online book club where we break down books in genres like horror, fantasy, science fiction, preferably with a beverage. What's everyone got? Rachel, you can live to tell the tale.
It's a pink sparkling wine. It looks fancy, but it's from Trader Joe's, so it's cheap and still good.
Hector,
and dangerous, apparently.
I'm drinking some kind of a red liquid that is alcoholic, and I'm finishing a bottle that my roommates and I guess started last night. So came into the kitchen a second ago, and I was like, is there any open bottles of wine? And they were like, yes. So I finished that. It's good.
Yeah, we and I've got my white wine, and I think this is one that I opened a little bit too long ago, if I'm going to be real with you. We are reading Throne of Glass this month. Also, heads up, book club will be off for the holidays on December 23. So we're going to read this one in 3 weeks instead of 4, which is why the homework was 18 full chapters, and it will be a little bit longer, but it's a super easy listen and or read. So yeah, you got this. But this book's over the 3 weeks. Rach, do you want to tell us about the author, Sarah J. Maas?
Yes, I do. Actually, Hector, do you want to do it so I can open up?
Yes, I do.
Our notes.
I have it right
I apparently didn't have them.
About the author. Throne of Glass is the first in a 7-book fantasy series, technically with an 8th collection of short stories that is the 0.5 that takes place before Throne of Glass. So
I didn't do that my second time through.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, in case you were like me and were confused and looked up, this is like the first book in this 7-book series, but there is an 8th book, as you can see here on the back, that is called The Assassin's Blade. That is a little collection of short stories, apparently. So
you find out more about Sam. She's mentioned Sam once. Selena has mentioned that she had a little kissy kiss with someone before called Sam. So it talks about her rise through the
So her name is pronounced Selena. That's good to know.
When was that?
Okay.
When she's fantasizing about Dorian. It's a very throwaway line. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that happened a lot. So you'll have to specify.
The League of Assassins? What's it called? She was in
it's the League of Assassins, and then there's the King of Assassins.
Ooh.
Yes.
So anyway, the book was written by Sarah J. Maas. It's also Maas's first published novel. Maas is 34 years old and graduated magna cum laude from Hamilton College in New York with a magna cum laude from Hamilton College. Clearly,
that's why people call me Maude?
Sure. In New York with a degree in creative writing and religious studies. She began writing her debut novel when she was 16 years old. She published the first few chapters on fictionpress.com, where it was one of the most popular stories on the site. When Maas decided to try and publish it, she took it down from the site. Throne of Glass was published in 2012 and the series completed in 2018. Throne of Glass is based on the story of Cinderella with the premise of what if the Cinderella was not a servant but an assassin? And what if she didn't attend the ball to meet the prince but to kill him instead? Maas's other ongoing series, A Court of Thorn and Roses.
Read
is
it.
loosely based on Beauty and the Beast, and her first adult trilogy, Crescent City, premiered in
Started
2020.
it. Really struggling to finish it.
Ooh, with House of Earth
Ooh.
and Blood. Cool. I am looking forward to her take on Peter Pan. I think that'll be pretty good. Whenever that occurs. All right, so now we get to Maude.
Yo. Oh, no, initial impressions. I want to hear
Yeah.
from you guys. I know what I think of this book. This is my third read. Yeah, there you go. For those that don't know, this is my third time through. When I started quarantine, I started going back to familiar things that I know I really, really liked. And so I've listened to all 7 books in the last 7 months. So I'm completely sort of familiar with this, and it's always a pleasure going back to it. I just love it. I read A Court of Thorn and Roses through only once. And I've been trying to get Rachel on that series for a while. Crescent City is a little bit different to the other two, which are fantasy. That is contemporary fantasy, and I don't think she nails that tone as well. But what do you guys think of Selena? And I'm going to help everyone with pronunciations if you're reading the book. I was talking to Miss Necromancer before, and she's just going, how's this name spelt and pronounced? I'm the opposite. I've only listened to the audiobook. So when I actually wanted to know what fan versions of the characters looked like, because I want to know if we're on the same page, because everyone's attractive. So I started trying to look up their names, and yeah, they're spelt differently. So I was like, this is what I think phonetically that, hearing it, this is what their name should be.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, it's spelt very whack.
I'm so glad I listened to it, because as I was like making notes and things, I had to like look everything up and was like, what? I would never in a million years know how to pronounce like almost all of the names, because they do not look like they sound. Most of them.
No, it's like, it just reminds me of the time when I was working at Nickelodeon and I was signing a lot of signatures for thousands of kids. And this girl came up and she's like, can you sign one for me? My name is Rainbow. And I was like, okay, here we go. And she's like, no, that's not how it's spelled. It's spelled RAYNE hyphen BEAU. And I was like, where is your mother? Because I know a thing or two about shit names, and her and I need to have a talk. And I feel like Sarah J. Maas has that kind of headspace with names where it's like it could be just spelt one way, but let's just change and spice it up. Selena with a C.
Selena with a C, yeah. Well,
Selena, yes.
Maude, what is it like to go back and listen to or experience just the first 136 pages of this 7.5 book series, knowing everything that you know? What's it like to go back and re-experience the beginning?
It's so interesting, just the development phases of these characters, knowing how much it will change over 7 books. Thank you, Nick Swing. I'm exactly the same. Knox without a K, whatever. There's a lot of foreshadowing, so like little tiny snippets of where it will go sort of like in 3 or 4 books time, but it's very, very subtle, so you won't pick it up at all. But then also I was just telling Rachel before we started, there are also introductions to characters that I'm like, what's the point? We never hear from them again. Like you literally forget about this character. They do not exist in this story frame. So that's a little bit interesting to go back and be able to see the obviousness of the subtleties, but I like that.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this though? What do you think? Because we have a female assassin protagonist who's she's literally putting the sassy in assassin.
What do you guys think I think about it? I'm really digging it. I see in the chat there are a couple folks who are saying either they're not a super big fan of YA fantasy, or there's a lot of focus on looks and you can feel some of the YA tropes, but I knew it was young adult going into it, so definitely does not bother me. It's been a while. That's like was how I got super into reading, was like YA horror and thriller and fantasy and sci-fi, and so I don't mind it at all. And honestly, it's a little nice to have a real sassy assassin and all of these like cool, scary, hot, weird like assassins and the head of the royal guard and the prince and all of them, and it's like, oh, they're all kind of attractive. Like, just I'll drink that up, I'll lap that up. Like,
yeah,
I'm in
And
the
you
right
got to,
mood
you
for
really have
that.
to suspend a little bit of disbelief, like the fact that this is through a YA lens. So everyone is going to be attractive. Everyone has sexual tension.
Which
the way
I
that,
really appreciate.
and it can be kind of great. I just want to read a comment. JRK Pectus was saying, I hated this book. I thought it had such a great premise and a horrible execution. And I will agree and disagree with you on that one, because now that I've gone back, I'm noticing like what parts of this book that I feel should be incredibly fleshed out. The fact that someone had an entire year of their life taken away from them and they've had to serve it in a slave labor camp, where basically there's like very little sunlight, if any at all. You were trapped underground, getting whipped and having open sort of sores, and anyone helping you, having them turned against you. I felt like it glossed over that a little bit in terms of the emotional damage and physical damage it would have done to a person. Like she kind of got out and she was like, oh, that's right. That's what the sun looks like. Oh, that's kind of nice. Oh, this is pretty. Oh, the castle grounds are great. And then this attitude comes out. And I just know that like I would have been a shadow of a person. And I think gratitude would just be like of abundance because I got a second chance at life. And I think that glossed over it way too quickly to really drill in the point that she is an assassin who's got big dick energy, because she's
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The biggest. I will say, because it is my first time reading it, I actually have been sort of viewing it as like she had to fight, she had to like suppress her emotions and tell herself every morning, like, I am not afraid. I definitely feel like her body has been clearly very ravaged. She can't even eat. It's when people are malnourished, or if you have an eating disorder and then you go into eating a bunch of food, like it's really hard to keep that food down.
Yeah.
But I think that all of this is her, her coping mechanism, and she fled from this horrible siege to her home when she was 8, and then was raised by this assassin who I feel like she put up all of these hard edges, and that's how she gets through her life as an assassin. The betrayal, we don't know who betrayed her or necessarily how she got captured, the details yet, but that's the vibe that I get from her, is that she's actually very she can be sensitive, she can be kind, she loves to read, hello, but she's put up all of these walls to survive for her whole life, because I believe the like siege on her kingdom, or the kingdom she comes from,
Terracin.
obviously Terracin. I'm just gonna guess that maybe she's a long lost princess, but
she's 19, chat. Everyone's asking how old Selena Sardothian. It's Selena Sardothian. She's 19.
I thought she was 18.
She's 19.
Okay,
in this one, she's 19. Yeah, I think
Pretty sure she's 19 because Kale sometimes sounds like Kale.
Oh,
Just has
Kale.
taken a while to say it. Kale's 22, so I'm pretty sure she's 19.
that.
Yeah.
22. Okay.
But
18. 18?
Oh, you mean
18 or 19? Now I'm questioning myself.
Chow? That's Kale. Chow. Got it. Okay, good.
Kale.
But yeah, so
Dorian's 19. Selena's 18.
Got it.
18.
Okay. Thank you for Kale. Okay, good. I needed that one.
But yeah, I heard that kingdom was under siege for like years before she ended up fleeing. So like her whole life and memory has been fighting for survival. So that was my take on it. I
think no, go ahead, Maude.
I was going to ask about the writing style and the lore and the world building.
Yeah. I think I liked what you said, Maude, about that you feel that Selena's a little bit of a that's how you pronounce the character's name, right? Selena. Okay, good. That this, at least this part of this book, right, we're a third of it into this first book, feels as though they didn't go into certain elements of her backstory as hard as they could have. Like the story's not going there. I agree. I think I made that observation too. I feel like Selena is a little bit of a blank slate. in this first book and in this first part of this first book. And I think that's very interesting. And I had not done the research on Sarah J. Maas until I just read this thing at the top of this episode, which I was like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, this is a story that was written by a younger writer and it's going well. And then boom, take it off of the internet. I'm going to publish this sucker. And then did and finds a success. And there's a 7-book series that came from it, which I think is amazing. But the whole time that I was reading it, I opened the book and this beautiful physical copy has this awesome, I mentioned this last time, map. And I was like, yeah, baby, I love a book with a fantasy map.
Will you
Let's
take
do
a
this.
I'm sure I can find it online.
And fan art and everything. But that gave me the impression of what I thought maybe the book was going to be. And then the book ended up not being that. And I think that as I'm reading it, I feel as though I don't dislike it. I'm not necessarily connecting with anything or like liking it. And I feel like there is a lot of setup, but I continue to remind myself, look, this is a 7-book series. I am positive that it's going to go to interesting places. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a 7-book series. Like it feels very, putting the chess pieces on the board before stuff kind of goes down. In fact, as this first section of the book goes through it, we are spending time describing what all the characters are wearing and what Selena is forced to wear and all of those details and everything. And I thought, yeah, absolutely. This would be amazing to read if I was in the demographic for who the book is for, which I'm admittedly not totally. And I thought I would probably enjoy this much, much more if I was in my teens, if I was a younger reader experiencing it for the first time. But then I went to this example. I remember the first time I read the comic book Scott Pilgrim, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't get it. I didn't get the comic book. And then Edgar Wright did the movie, and the movie came out, and I watched it, and I went, "Oh, okay. I understand what this tone is. Like what was so fun and cool about this book that they were able to put into this adaptation. Like now I get it." And then I went back and read the book, and I completely enjoyed. I was able to get on that wavelength of like, okay, this is what this is. I think that there may be some, not that it's a bad thing. Everybody's discussing YA. Everybody's talking about those YA tropes in the chat room right now, which I think is very interesting. Naomi said, to be honest, the series gave me a Game of Thrones, cross with Lord of the Rings vibes, but with a YA twist. Brad Easton, I like the YA tropes. It's good fun. I love the main character. I was thinking about this and going, if this were a TV show and it's going to be a Hulu show, I'm like, oh, okay, this could be a show that potentially could be something like a CW show, like a supernatural show or a superhero show or something where it's full of a bunch of good looking young people, just ridiculously
It's a fantasy
good-looking.
version of Shadowhunters. Who are we kidding?
And that's a show
Oh,
I'm not
God.
familiar with, but that's a show. Then it's got a huge fan base and it's a fantasy version of that. So I'm like, maybe if and when this will become adapted and people see it and they devour the first season and all the actors come out and they talk about their characters and they almost kind of ham it up in a way and a little bit soap opera-y. I'm like, that could be really fun to get into that. And maybe my thing too, and of course, I'm also not listening to it, so I'm not necessarily picking up on a tone or a vibe that you guys might be getting from a narrator. I'm reading it and I'm going through some of the crunchy names. I'm like, okay, Kale, okay, we'll put that on the back burner. Got it. But as I'm reading it, I feel like if I were to have a little bit more of the maybe led through the world a little bit more by the hand with like a specific, hey, this is how we're going to have fun in this world, versus like I'm going through it and I am picking up on what we're spending time with versus what we're not spending time with. Some of the world building you asked about that, Maude, is interesting, but again, this first 130 pages or whatever, we haven't really dug into it too much. A couple characters die, reminding me a little bit of Fungens and Flagons Maude. And as soon as a character died, I went, ooh, this is about to be an investigation. And then it kind of didn't do that. I'm like, okay, interesting. Okay. I kind of get what the book is prioritizing versus what it's not. And again, my whole experience up to this point is I'm just like, I'm not enjoying the book. I'm not necessarily connecting to it. I'm obviously not the demographic, but I'm open to seeing what this first story does. And as far as the main character, she's cool. But I did have that unfortunate, like a kind of seeing the Matrix code a little bit, where as soon as Sarah J. Maas was like, this main character fucking loves books. I'm like, of course she does, because this is for like young people that are into reading fantasy. So you get to a character like that and you're just like, she's a fangirl. This is awesome. She's into it. She's Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Like that's of course. And we
But a
spend
Belle with teeth.
Belle with teeth.
Yeah, she's not as sweet as Belle.
Maybe my ideal book is like this combined with a little bit of that what was the book we read, the Assassin's Apprentice or whatever,
Apprentice.
where I felt like it went a little too much into the logistics of being an assassin. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
misremembering it, but I want Selena to kill more people, and I want to hear about how and why she's doing it. And so far up to this point in the book, it hasn't happened yet.
She's just good at everything.
She's good, and she's very frustrated, and she's being told to not be as good, and she's very frustrated by that. And I'm like, I get it. I hear you, man. That's frustrating. Like, you should be the best. But I want to get more into her. I want to get more into like the why and how of the fact that she is a 19-year-old super deadly young woman. I buy it. I'm not denying that, but I'm like, but give me some cool sneaky killy stuff. Give me some of that stuff.
Yes,
I have a
Rachel.
question. When we've read a couple of like fantasy books in a series that feel like the first part, but there isn't like closure within the book. Do you feel, I just want to prepare myself. Do you think
I remember what Maude said about this book. She said it was a good standalone adventure. She was
Yes,
very
okay.
excited to revisit it because of that standalone nature. So that's the other thing.
Yeah, so that's because I also think I as I was listening to it, I felt like we were, and I do quite like this sort of style of meeting a character and some basic things about them, but as you're going through the story, you learn more about them and their backstory. And I perked up as soon as like all of the sexy banter started in the assassin stuff, but also the lore about the Fae is super intriguing to me.
Yeah, I like that part.
Where did magic go? What happened? Because first he tried to destroy it, but then it just disappeared. So I obviously, we won't learn everything in this book because it is a series, but I feel like I'm getting enough information. But I'm also, when YA is done well, which it can be very often, I think it's really fun. It gets a lot of people into reading. You can play around with a lot of different themes and ideas. And I would not want to see this show as a CW style show. Someone in the chat.
I think we all made the assumption, it being YA, that's what usually.
Yeah, of course. But I think, where did it go? Someone said, oh yeah, Naomi, I can see it as an HBO show, like with his Dark Materials, except I would not want that intro at the beginning that explains the world. I don't like when people do that, but and Hector, I know you had a little bit of the same feeling about the Golden Compass of like, it doesn't necessarily like introduce everything right away, but that's a style that I really, really love.
Yeah.
As you're like uncovering pieces, obviously, because I read like a million mysteries.
Yeah.
But I agree that like some sort of like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, younger, kind of darkly funny, but not quite like jingle jangle Riverdale nonsense, which I love. I watch it, but I feel like this could benefit from being a little more.
Matt E in the chat makes a really great observation as well. He goes, since when have eye eaters who are brutally murdered become YA? And that's the thing in this, it has the potential to be quite gory and graphic and violent if it wants to go down that road.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it could probably live, if we're discussing the adaptation world, I think it could live in a PG-13 world. I think it can. I mean, I think that you could very easily show some real gnarly stuff, but you could also like imply certain things and it's I remember the feelings we were getting reading Mexican Gothic with some of the like really gross, postulating stuff that we were like, it's so visceral. And even with like the pretty violent, people dying and getting killed and stuff up to this point, I didn't really feel anything that made me squeamish per se. So
Isn't that so interesting? Because like
Yeah.
both have had a female protagonist. So it's not that. It's just the way the story's written,
doesn't
I
surprise
guess.
me. Doesn't surprise me
like
at all. Yeah.
in Dragon Temeria.
Temeraire.
Yeah.
Temeria. Same thing as well. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I had the exact same thing. There was such a disconnect for me. So it's just so
Mhm.
amazing, sort of like
His
what
Majesty's Dragon.
what hits and what doesn't. GIK Pectus as well was just saying this book made me want to read Assassin's Apprentice. I love fantasy and I found Assassin's Apprentice so dull.
Yeah, it
So-
didn't work
We
for
did
me
not
either, but
enjoy that one.
but I'm trying to remember why we didn't love it, and I feel like it was because it wasn't doing enough character work. And I think
Yeah.
this one's doing it, but I'm like, but maybe I want more of the like
Oh, I have the, ooh, you're pretty. Oh, they're pretty. Ooh, triangle.
Hello.
Option.
Yes. Yes. Give
Options.
it to me.
Yeah.
Want it.
Yeah.
Yes. Make them smooch.
I think it was
That
Nathan
is
said
my
this.
like campaign slogan for everything. Make them smooch. I just actually read a thriller book and now really love the author, and it was like a really messed up like thriller murder mystery, but like with sexy times. It was so good.
Yeah.
Loved it. It was so
Nathan was saying this book's a little thirsty. Yeah, that's the point.
extremely thirsty.
So what has happened? How does this book open? Well, after serving a year of hard labor in the mines of Endovia, notorious assassin Selena Sardothian is brought in to see the Crown Prince Dorian by Captain Kale Westfall, the head of the Royal Guard. The prince has a proposition for her. The King of Otterlin, don't even ask guys.
Otterland. Otterland.
Otterlin. The way she says it, she sounds like it's saying Otterlin.
It's not.
Yeah.
Wait, are you sure it's not a darling?
I am 100% sure
Otterlin.
she's saying Otterlin, which
Otterlin.
I
And I-
interpret as Otterlin.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I Googled when I was writing notes. I was like, was he King of Otterland? Could not find it.
Otterlin. My God.
Did not work.
Like, not even ARD. The King of Ardalan wants a champion, a royal assassin, and is holding a competition to find one. 23 members of the King's Council are sponsoring would-be champions to train at the castle, and then they compete in a duel to the death. If Selena can beat her opponents, then she'll serve as the King's champion for 4 years and then earn her freedom. It was supposed to be 5, and then I think it went down to 3, and then they negotiated at 4 with the potential to knock another year off. Selena must use an alias because Selena Sardothian is Otterlin's assassin. So in this case, her alias is Lillian Gordania to help her infamous keep her infamous identity a secret. And if she fails, she's just going to be sent back to the mine. Well, I mean, if she fails, she'd be dead.
That
If
too. She
you-
could die or get sent. I think they basically threaten with like, you'll either die or we'll send you back to whatever horrible place we pulled you out.
Yeah, and she
Which again,
said,
like that
Yeah.
is why she's so arrogant.
Yeah.
Like that to me, it doesn't click. The first 2 reads, I was like, whatever. But this time I'm like, okay, if you are literally like doing slave labor in a mine without daylight, and most people, the average life expectancy in there is 3 months.
Yeah.
And she comes out and starts making demands. That's weird for me now.
Yeah, I kind of get the vibe that like even when she's being like led into to speak to Dorian, she's like, well, I'm not going to kneel if they're just going to behead me. And I think she would definitely try to escape or fight before she would go back. That's why she's clocking like every single thing around her.
Right. The exits
Because
and the weapons.
she's like,
yeah.
that's my escape plan is like, if I don't get through this, I
You're not
have
going back.
all of these different
Mhm.
ways out, and I would rather like die trying to escape than or get beheaded or something than
Yeah,
go back
go
to
back.
those
Like
mines.
that character like that dude who's trying to run away and then arrow through the neck, and they're all like, dang, they weren't kidding. They will kill you if you try to escape or get to
Yeah.
the outer
But
wall or
she's way
whatever.
smarter than that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think also at the beginning, she said something too in her monologue where she was like, if I do get sent back to the mines, I will die. like, I don't have it in me to survive another, and then she was like, of course I'm going to take this deal, but I'm going to kind of mess with them a little bit. 5 years, make it 4. Okay, done. Because she was already going to, Van Thorn in the chat said, this sounds like the Nevernight Chronicle. I don't know.
I've got that book.
Have you read it?
No,
Is it good?
I haven't read it yet.
Also,
Oh,
I will definitely take other recommendations like this. And I realized probably why I really like it too is it reminds me of a book that I read when I was like 11, or a series that
I'm your girl. I'm your girl.
I know. And I trust you, obviously, with my life. But for anyone who read the Alana series about a girl who, it's basically Mulan. She dresses up as a boy to become a knight.
Cool.
But there's like a king of thieves or a prince of thieves. I haven't read it in a long time, but there's a prince, and then there's like a thief, and it's a quadrant of books.
Yeah.
And definitely it's like she's really talented and smart and scrappy and doesn't want to take shit, and then there's a lot of chemistry with a lot of people, and 11-year-old me was like, let them smooch.
Let them smooch. Everyone in the chat is saying Nevernight is so good, so maybe that'll be my next book for sure.
Maude, I have a question for you.
Yo.
I have a question for you, because somebody in the chat, Lisa Hill, said, you can tell she started writing this book when she was young. The emotional stuff definitely gets better as this series progresses, which I believe it, even when I'm reading this first, but now, especially knowing that she started writing this first novel when she was 16.
Yeah.
Question to you, Maude, is there anything in terms of the characterization of Selena that like a revelation that happens in like book 4 that cracks open and you go, oh, I can look at this character in a completely different light? Or is it pretty straightforward? Because it seems like it's
I think
pretty
it happens
straightforward.
at the end of this book.
Really? Okay.
Hmm.
Enticing. That's enticing, Maude. That's enticing.
Oh yeah, I'm getting suggestions in the chat, and I'm double multitasking and adding them to my Goodreads while we're doing
Oh, From Blood and Ash. Write that one down. That sounds intense. That's pretty good.
Sounds great.
Yep. Listen. Kirsten White's And I Darken.
Yep.
Also,
And
Court of Thorns and Roses.
yes, that one's on my list.
Oh yeah, I've done that. I wouldn't mind listening to that again.
Isn't Kirsten White also Dark Descent
of Elizabeth Frankenstein?
Yeah.
And that book's
what I
great.
thought.
That one actually I would count as in that as well, but you already know I'd recommend that to you. Guys,
I'm trying to wait until it wins one of our polls so we can read it together, but
yeah, I would like that.
I might have to read it before then.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. There's too many other books you can read.
I'm such a comic book geek. Every time this book talked about the Crown Prince, I just read it as Clown
Joker.
Prince because of the Joker, because I'm so used to seeing the Clown Prince of crime since I was a kid in comic books that I honestly forgot that it's a play on the phrase Crown Prince. I honestly just put Clown Prince together as like a normal saying, like a normal phrase. Like, yeah, Clown Prince. Got it. Yeah. He's the Clown Prince of crime. Duh.
Aaron in the chat is saying Dead Witch Walking by Kim Harrison. It's a witch bounty hunter living with a vampire and a pixie in a church. Rachel, you'll love it. Aaron, you convinced me to buy this. I bought it months ago. I still have to listen to it as well.
Walking tour.
Do they kiss?
And Nick Swing has said, does Maude have a good read? Yeah, look up Geekbomb. Geekbomb's got one as well. Oh my God, Dorian, when we get to those chapters, can I just say, it's like someone said, Maude, what's your type? And then put it in a book, except like the womanizing I can do without. But wise,
oh, I'm excited.
Kale over here.
Dorian.
They're like,
Hector, if you had to choose, had to choose.
Well, I'll be honest.
Are you Team Dorian or Team Kale?
I kind of have a problem with all royalty and high upper crusty folks. Is there like a Meghan Markle equivalent in this world? Is there somebody who kind of married into this life and they were maybe like an actress on the TV show Suits?
Well, Nehemia is actually trying to start a revolution to, stop all slaves. So
she seems cool. She seems cool.
I like her. And I also feel like, in this case, a lot of potentially some of the more, noblemen and women are like Nehemia.
Nehemia.
I knew a guy in high school named Nehemiah, so I don't think it'll ever go from my brain. But ever. But they've all been conquered. Like she does not want
Wait,
to. What did you say? I
this is
missed
great.
it.
No, Derek Rhodes in the chat said, I always read Kale's name as Chow Owl. Chow Owl.
Chawoo! Chawoo!
Listen, Chow Owl. I'll pick
got
Chow
me.
Owl.
That got me. Oh man, I'm so glad we read that at the same time.
Chow
That's
Owl.
so good.
It
Chawoo.
reminds me of Hermione or
Hermione.
Hermione.
Ooh, here comes
Yeah.
Chow Owl. I have such a crush on him. Ooh, here comes Chow Owl.
Oh man. Hey, Hector, do you want to talk us through Out of the Mines?
Yeah. Selena's year in the mines has taken a toll on her body. She's malnourished and weak, scarred from beatings, but knows she can't eat, exercise, but knows that she can eat, exercise, and train to get herself back to fighting shape. I want to talk about this for a quick second because I didn't do any deep dives into like the reasoning behind some of the story points or anything, or what Sarah J. Maas was attempting to say. But Rachel, you said at the top of the show, this reminded me of a young person dealing with being malnourished, yes, but also eating disorders.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know if that was purposeful, if the story is going to try to like say something about that, because I feel like I felt kind of like the first time I watched Dirty Dancing, the movie, and I was like, oh, this classic movie that I had never seen and I'm only seeing now in my early 30s is about abortion. I was blown away. I was like, what? This is amazing. And it was a real honest story about that. Does this book, like, it's a YA novel and a bunch of young people are going to be experiencing it. Does it go into that at all? Did you guys not pick up on that? Like, in any case, should it be in there? Should it not be in there? Like, how do we feel about that she is so malnourished that she was vomiting, and they talk about that a lot, and it's being observed that she's going through that.
It sounds to me like her body is just so sort of weak and she's pushing it too hard, too fast. Like, honestly, she would need months to sort of like slowly recover. She doesn't have that time.
Pushing herself. And she's pushing herself.
Gotcha.
But also, when you are malnourished, like if you do have an eating disorder and you go into treatment, sometimes you will get like a feeding tube or some sort of feeding schedule. And it's very important to do it if you can. It's hard for many people, but with a professional, because if you go from 0 to 100, your body like actually can't handle it. I don't know if they go into it in the book, obviously, but they're another YA author that I read quite a bit when I was young and was like such a fangirl of. I made like little charm bracelets for character names, went to a book signing. I was like, Francesca Leah Block, and she took a lot of different like fairy tale ideas and actually like there's like self-injury, there's eating disorders, there's different things that are kind of woven in.
Very
and
interesting.
It's almost like poetry. So definitely if you are looking for more of that kind of exploration in like YA and like surrealist fantasy, because it was all also set in LA, but like surrealist fairy tales. Francesca Leah Block, check them out.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I just thought that was, people in the chat are like, well, I think it's just in there to add some kind of realism, the fact that she's going through that. But I thought it was very interesting.
No. Someone also said that if you are severely dehydrated, there it is, J Bunch Rock. When you're severely dehydrated, you will puke if you try to intake food.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just, and I remember also the character Selena said something at the beginning in the chat, mentioned it, that she was so used to bad food that she's getting all this incredible, like, these incredible displays of all the breakfast stuff. And it's like too rich. It's too good. So, and she has a very in-universe reason for her body being in the shape that it's in. I was just thinking and feeling, I'm like, I wonder if Sarah J. Maas is using that to explore, some pretty heavy themes and get it in there in a YA book potentially. So the prince, Captain Chow Owl, and Selena, along with soldiers, dogs, and the asshole Duke who forced her to kneel, leave the mines behind and head west to the king's castle for training. She is dressed and given a horse to ride, but is chained to Chow Owl for the journey. Along the way,
don't ruin my stoic boyfriend.
Nope. This is a Rafe Fiennes situation. Everybody's pronouncing it wrong except me and the chat who brought it up. Thank you in the chat. So along the way, Selena's interrogating him, trying to get a rise out of him. Is he married? Is he highborn? What's his title? When did he become captain of the Royal Guard? Kale doesn't let her ruffle his feathers. She is a criminal and he owes her nothing. When they make camp, she notices the Duke and the Prince are deep in conversation and she senses tension between them. Then Selena realizes where they are, Oakwall Forest on the edge of the former kingdom of Terrasen.
So Selena's backstory. There it is, 18. There it is. Rach, do you want to do this?
Yes. Because this was maybe my favorite part, was digging into this, and I was like, ooh, okay, we're gonna get into like libraries being burned. It also has like a fantasy 1984 vibe to it, where they're just like rewriting history.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Yep.
So Selena is 18 years old, much younger than anyone in the kingdom suspects, due to how infamous she is for her assassinly ways. She was raised by the king of assassins. Maude, I listened to it, but I'm looking at it now.
Hamel.
Erebon.
That is
Erebon.
Erebon.
I'm gonna have to like write them out phonetically before we talk about them, because my brain gets confused when I see it written out.
Erebon. Yes, it says Bon in it. Bon. Erebon Hamel.
Erebon. He found her.
Thank you, Hector. That's exactly Erebon. That's how I said it in my head. Erebon.
There you go. Erebon found her half frozen, floating in an icy river when she was only 8. The young Selena had fled her home of Terrasen. Great. After the king,
I thought it was Terrison, but whatever.
Yeah. After the king of Otterland conquered it. She once had the gift of magic before Otterland outlawed all magic, hunted down the immortal fae and fairies of Terrasen's Oakwall Forest, and removed all trace of their history. Seers and healers were executed or sentenced to the slave camps of Endovir. Libraries full of fae lore and knowledge were burned, and even those who had magic in their blood began to doubt that it ever really existed.
Because when you're 16, 10 years seems like a really, really.
Oh, 100%. Oh my God. When I was 16, I was like, there's no way I'm going to make it to 18. Like, it just, everything feels small. And then now I barely remember what I felt like when I was 16.
It still feels a little dumb in Star Wars when characters from A New Hope and after are like, the Jedi, I thought they were. It's like,
Agreed.
It's been 30 years. And they 19 years, and they had a huge impact on society. That's a little ridiculous. But this I buy, Maude, and you're right, because when you go from 6 years old to 16, you're a different being entirely. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, how old is Luke? Because like 19. For him, he didn't grow up with it. So
true.
I was thinking more The Force Awakens, even though that's the same. It's like they were way more famous than I don't know. I don't know.
But then, when we read Bloodlines, if you want to talk about Star Wars for a second, that kind of made it make a little bit more sense, because it did. Rey understood the news that got out when Leia was Darth Vader's daughter, and then therefore Luke would
version.
Yeah, she sort of picked up on all that. But yeah, I guess people that just live on the outskirts in deserts just have people lie to them. That must be the Star Wars solution, is that people lie to 19-year-olds.
Bad space Wi-Fi out in the outer rim.
Yeah, people.
Yes. So the magic, then this I found really interesting too, and it reminded me of The Magicians, which I haven't read, but I've watched the show.
We did it for Geekbomb Book Club.
Yes, and I've been told that I would really like it. I don't know if it happens in the books as well, but the magic essentially just vanishes of its own accord as Otterland is trying to, rid all of these kingdoms of any trace of it. And I found that really interesting, and now I want to know what happened. Selena is still haunted by the memories of the invasion, jumping out of some tower to escape the fires. She's an orphan, and she has haunting dreams about her lost magic because she was little, but she still remembers it. And she fled after that invasion and started a new life, training as Erebon's most skilled and loyal assassin. She was never allowed to return home to Terrasen, which was one of the first fallen kingdoms of Aurelia.
Aurelia should have been Aurelia.
Yeah.
Aurelia. Yeah. And here's a fun fact for those that have watched Fungeons and Flagons season 1. I was listening to this series for the first time and I got put on the spot. They're like, what are the names of the lands? And I said Aurelica. I said Aurelica because there were relics in that were really important. And so I combined Aurelia and relics to get Aurelica. But there you go. Now people know the intricate workings of my mind. So anyway, we get into the capital. They hit the edges of the capital and decide to camp for the night to venture into the city during daylight. Kale notices a look of dread on Selena's face, and she realizes that she suspects that one of her fellow assassins, maybe more, betrayed her, which led to her capture. That night, she wakes from a nightmare about the slave camps. She promises herself that she will win this championship, serve her time as a king's assassin, and then disappear. She no longer wants anything to do with the rise and fall of kingdoms. She's not destined for anything anymore. She just wants to be free.
I feel like this is another good example just of like her trying to push everything away, and then she has a nightmare about falling into a pit of bodies, but no one knows she's still alive. Like that's some trauma leaping out in your dreams if I've ever seen it, heard it, read it. Anyway, keep going.
Prince Dorian, meanwhile, watches Selena as she, let me have this one, please. His ice blue eyes on the lip bite. She watches Selena as she gazes at the stars. He finds her beautiful, if a bit strange, and wonders why her swagger has faded into sadness tonight. But he tells himself, it doesn't matter, she's an assassin, and she must win that championship on his behalf, and nothing else matters. The next morning, though, the prince and company make their way into the capital and up to the Glass Castle. Selena is dressed up and painted, and they parade through the people of the city. She sees the slaves broken down and beaten, and she hates that she looks like just another lady with the prince. She'd been a slave herself. She'd freed almost 200 slaves from the pirate lord that you do hear about in point 5.
Cool.
The castle is made of glass, built atop an original stone castle. Selena is sent to her new chambers, thankfully within the stone castle. She doesn't like the glass thing. She doesn't like being
that is my actual nightmare. I would also have panic attacks in the castle.
Yeah, not fun. And like, I don't know, it's got a sense of like delicacy, that no one
could
wants.
Just break beneath.
She addresses her surroundings, clocking every guard and exit. There's just one. There are no weapons in her chambers. She takes notes of a billiard setup. She cues and heavy balls that could be used to defend herself and make a rudimentary knife out of hairpins. I really liked just like that tiny, like those nuances about the fact that, oh, you know what, carrying a crossbow for so long does make your arms tired. And what do you know? They've got their crossbow strapped onto their back. That's going to be so much easier to get past them because this time she's already gone. I love those sort of moments. It's very Perfect Dark. It's very Alias. I dig that part of it.
It is kind of fantasy Alias, actually. Yeah, because she's so observant, and every time they like lead her somewhere or show her something, she's like, these dummies. Like, I know where the queen's chambers are. I know where all these things are. Like, okay, fine. If you're gonna underestimate,
it doesn't matter that this spear is dull, dummies. I could still kill you with it. They're so dumb.
Yeah. She's dressed up in a corset and gown instead of her requested tunic and pants. She meets her personal servant, Philippa Spindlehead, who instructs her not to share her true identity with anyone. Philippa kind of seems soft, but she is tough as nails, and tells Selena she will look and act like a lady or else. The castle. Hector.
Here we are. Okay. Dorian, dumb old Dorian, meets with his father in the throne room. Otterland warns Dorian not to underestimate Selena. As Dorian tries to convince the king to skip the contest, just hire her, come on. We learn that Dorian looks nothing like his father, and he set out to find an assassin to get away from him. Though she may look pleasant, she's still a witch, the arrogant king warns. He tells Dorian to stay away from her, to marry a lady, and then he can play around with whoever he wants to after he produces a proper heir. Otherwise, no, he has this conversation with his mom later. Otherwise, his brother will get the kingdom potentially when he dies, if he doesn't have an heir. Chow Owl takes Selena on a tour of the grounds, avoiding the glass castle, but she's taking note of every single detail, planning potential escape routes. Takes her to the library where she basically turns into Belle. I know what that's like. Look at my backdrop. And then Chow Owl is like offhandedly like, oh, there's maybe a secret library beneath this. It's even twice as big and just as dusty. And it's
maybe has some secret stuff in there that maybe
magic. So she sends a note to Prince Dorian requesting to borrow books. And it was pretty cheeky. And then he acquiesced, but sends her a few books to read first so that they may discuss them later.
Rach.
So then there's this meeting with the king, which stressed me out a little bit. So Selena wakes up late the next morning, also something I do all the time, and is like, am I late for the competition? Like, what's going on? She overhears this very vapid lady in the garden sort of talking the ears off of her ladies in waiting. She just loves Prince Dorian, and oh, he brought some harlot with him, but you know, I'm not worried about it, even though she clearly is. Which again, fair, but also you don't have to call her a harlot. And Selena is like, oops, on this balcony and like knocks over a potted plant accidentally.
That's a
it does miss, yeah, it does miss her. And she gets dressed up again by Philippa and is dragged away by Kale, who is like, you look quite pretty today. And I was like, oh, I love it. To venture into the glass castle to see the king. In the throne room, she joins the other assassins or champions in front of the king, who terrifies and disgusts her, which fair. He's a conqueror. He's pretty clearly super evil. The members of the council stand with their champions next to them. 23 men stand behind her and her freedom. The competition will take place over the next 13 weeks. They're going to train every day and will be tested once a week, and at least one of them will be eliminated each week. They might also die. They might also add other elimination, trials in there. They can basically do whatever they want to because they're royal. Eat the royal. And so the last 4 champions will face each other in a duel to win the title. Although the court knows that there's a contest going on in the castle, the champions to be are to keep their business, i.e. crimes, to themselves. Don't get into any trouble while this is going on. The king is going off on a kind of secret, mysterious journey of his own, and he won't be back until the final duel. So at least she has, 13 weeks without having to deal with that guy. Once they're dismissed from this meeting, Dorian is flirting and joking with the champion. He also tells her new, nice, Maude. I can't blink.
It wasn't a wink,
I can't wink.
That was not a wink.
I have to like scrunch my face up, but it still doesn't work. And he gives her her new identity and her backstory. Lillian Gordania,
yep,
who is supposedly an heiress who moonlights as a jewel thief. And then they bump into the woman from the garden, Lady Caltaine Rompier. And Dorian implies that to her, she's basically like super jealous.
I actually really like the name Caltaine Rompier. I think that's great.
It's a great name.
Yeah. It sounds like the name of a Shrek character. That's a real name. That's great.
Yeah. Caltaine Rompier. I love it.
It reminded me, actually, speaking of bloodlines, of the
dude,
very fussy senator. No, the centrist senator who also is very
lady. Yeah.
What's her name? I forgot.
Same. Lady
Whoops.
something. Yes.
Yeah. But what's now I've lost who I'm talking about. Caltaine. She's doing that thing that like courtly ladies do where they're like, I don't care, but I do. And Dorian's kind of teasing Kale and is like, yeah, Kale and Lillian are super close. And again, one of my favorite, like, let them smooch moments when he's like, I don't want to be nice to you. And she's like, you have to now. It's part of our cover.
Yeah. Then the competition begins. Exhausted from a night of reading those books that Dorian gave her. So again, like, that doesn't check out this third read, where it's like, if your way out is to win, eye on the prize. But then I guess, and it was so flippant. It was like, oh, but I just had to read the books. If it was like, oh, I haven't read a book, and as soon as I started, I got so sucked into it, and it was like, ugh.
Or what if it's for survival, Maude? What if her plan is like, I need to do this to get in with Dorian for something later?
That wasn't touched upon either.
I know.
Well, but she also said like books. She wanted access to the books and said, like, books are the best weapon. They're full of ideas. And then she's like, okay, well, I'm obviously not going to get to do this unless I play along. And then he sort of is like, yes, but here's my homework for you. Okay.
Yeah, good point. Okay, that makes more sense. Thanks, guys.
That's how I interpreted it.
And if she
always just my opinion.
That's Tamaranian. And if she collects enough thick hard covers, she can use them as a weapon.
Yes.
So anyway, she wakes early to begin her training with Kale. She nearly beats him, but he trips her at the end and bests her. She's furious to have lost against the captain. The weapons master and judge of the competition, Theodus Borello, introduces himself and plays the name game with the motley crew of criminals. We've got Kane, a soldier in the King's Army and Duke Parrington's champion. Xavier Forel, a master thief. Knox Owen, another thief. Bill Chastain and Ned Clement, both murderers. Grave, an assassin. Paylor, the youngest assassin, plus a handful of others not important enough to name. The others don't pay too much attention to Lillian, the lowly jewel thief. And Selena's offended. Don't they know who she is? Kale explains to her that that is the point. She's got to take this to her advantage. If she doesn't excel and she sticks to the middle of the pack, they're not going to suspect her. So that by the time she reaches the finale and they've got to face off against her, that she's unsuspecting, and then boom, she'll win. And she's like, that's kind of brilliant. Hector, the princess?
The next day, Selena meets a Princess Nehemia Yetiger, Princess of Ilwe, accompanied by
Princess of Ilwe.
Princess of
Someone in the chat said it
Gunaway.
was similar to Gaelic, and that now makes so much more sense to me. AKA, it's very confusing. Although I do know it's Saoirse Ronan.
Saoirse Ronan. I do know that too.
Saoirse.
The language of Elway and the two bond, because Selena knows the language of Elway. So the two bond over the dummies leading her around. Nehemia dismisses them and the two continue talking. Nehemia says that she has been sent to the kingdom to learn the Otterland customs by her father, or perhaps to find a consort. Not Dorian, though. He's too much of a flirt. The princess has also suffered her kingdom's libraries burned during invasion, and she shares Selena's hatred of Otterland. Selena also suspects that Nehemia might be associated with the rebel movement. The princess needs someone to talk to. Could the two of them become friends?
We got the giggles. Yeah, well,
I'll take the next one. The first test. The first test, days before the first test, one of the competitors, Bill Chastain, was found brutally murdered. Selena bonds with the thief, Knox Owen, and learns more about Chow Owl. He was best friends with Dorian growing up, but his father sent him back to his home of Aineali to become more involved in politics. He ended up renouncing his lordship and came back to Rifthold to train with the captain of the guard. Selena tells him that her parents died when she was 8. The first test is an archery contest. Both Kane and Selena do well, and one of the competitors tries to escape and is killed by the guards.
We're talking about names now. Sorry, people missed the joke, and the best one was that all these names are like Gaelic. They're really kind of hard to pronounce. And then Rachel goes, "But I know how to say Saoirse," and I'm like, "Saoirse," and she's like, "Oh," and then had a really
I went like I was gonna sing my Corona with my well, now it's wrong. I know it's wrong, so I have to reevaluate all of my life.
My Saoirse Ronan.
Yes, that's good.
That's what I was doing, and I'm gonna
saying, "Oh, rhymes with
so embarrassed with myself."
Tamarani says, "I see your Saoirse, and I raise you a Siobhan." And then the commentator is like, "Please, guys, how do you pronounce the word Kaylee?" But it's Celidh. I actually hired someone at Geekbomb, and her name was Kaylee, so I got that figured out real quick.
Pretty good.
The first test, how far did you get the whole way?
We are now more about Dorian is where we're at. This is the last one.
We learned that the queen wants Dorian to settle down and would arrange a marriage with Lady Caltaine if she wasn't already promised to some duke. Ugh. Dorian has had his heart broken by a woman named Rosamund. Do we ever go into it? No. And it's
very Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. Is this why he's got such a cavalier attitude? Is it all an act? Dorian then catches Selena and Nehemia in the training room sparring with swords. He pulls Selena aside and is like, "What are you doing? Where is Kale? You cannot have a weapon with this princess. Are you stupid?" And then anyway, she's like, "Why don't you two do it then?" And he's like, "Okay." And I'm like, wow, that was really convincing. Rubber arm Dorian over there. And then Kale,
you know what? Adam T makes a great point in the chat, Maude. Adam T makes a great point. Dorian, do you mean Do Ryan? I believe that's how you pronounce his name correctly. It's Do Ryan. So from now on, we have Chow Owl and Do Ryan. Who's your pick? Which team are you on?
Yeah, I'll do
I'm also Chow Owl. I'm very hopeful for at some point Nehemia and Selena. Like,
ooh.
I
Mhm.
love two ladies sword fighting. Don't tell me. I'm gonna be so. Don't tell me. It's my head canon now.
We're going to spend this time doing some final thoughts, but we're going to have those final thoughts over at the Geek Bomb after show. Some things like, is Selena a brat? How do you find her character's contradictions? What kind of person would you be at the castle? For the announcements, though, and we got a little homework for you as well. You've just read 18 chapters. You're up to 19. We're going to get you to read to 38. So stop when you hit 38. Read chapters 19 to 37. We're also going to have a Twitter poll up for our January book. We're getting those done easier and quicker so that you guys have a little bit more time to order in from your local bookshops, which we totally support. These are your 4 titles. This tweet will go up and we'll make sure that we retweet it.
I think it's up.
Times.
Yeah.
The poll
it's
is already up.
And there should be descriptions of the books in that tweet.
Poll is up. Poll is up.
Your choices are, the first book is Hector's, sell it.
Star Trek Picard, Our Last Best Hope by Una McCormick.
Rach?
Well, this one was actually Hector's originally, but we had all sort of want to read it, so we keep putting it on the poll. Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White, who was name dropped earlier for a different book.
I submitted Dark Disciple by Disciple by Christy Golden. And this, of course, is a Star Wars book between Asajj Ventress and another character that we haven't really stumbled upon yet, Asajj Ventress, who we're talking about. So that's one that
I did not realize that. I'm excited for that either way.
Yeah.
I read a book like millions of years ago that's set in the prequels, and she's in it, and I thought she was dope as hell.
If I can confess, I've never landed disciple. I'm not religious, so that word just.
And you've never been trained.
And then the last one
birth.
is my pick, Circe by Madeline Miller. It is basically taking, stories like the Odyssey, but telling them from the perspective of a witch who has a very small part in the Odyssey, and exploring her whole life and all of these, basically looking at Greek and Roman mythology from the perspective of a demigod witch in this story, and kind of twists all of the myths a lot, and it's super fun.
All of these.
I know, me too. I'm excited to read any of these.
So make your vote count over at Twitter and tell your friends about it as well. Already people are saying Dark Disciple was my favorite Star Wars canon novel. Gaming Shields flying on in, saying I've read all the Throne of Glass series and it was great. And then following up saying The Black Prism's a really good book. I just started that. Brent Weeks, really great.
Also, tweet fantasy recommendations, and if you have thrillers and murder mysteries, at us with Nerdist Book Club.
And if you're in Geekbomb's Discord and you can access reading, every recommendation, we try to pin those as well, so we can collect all those recs as well. If you've missed any of the previous episodes of Nerdist Book Club and you want to go back and watch them all, you can see them on Nerdist YouTube or Geek and Sundry's Twitch. Just like and subscribe. And straight after this, of course, we're going to head over to the after show on Geekbomb's Discord. If you want to jump into that one, it's an exclusive little Q&A with us 3, and you guys get to talk and ask questions or share your thoughts. It is exclusive to those who have Discord access as a Patreon perk. So if you want to do that, just sign up for the lowest tier and higher. Whatever backing you do, you get access to it. So head over to Geekbomb's Patreon to get involved, which is patreon.com/Geekbomb. Jay Bunt Rock saying more Darcy Coates. Oh, I could talk to Darcy.
Yes. Oh, I'm definitely going to read more of hers. Hector, do you also have My Sharona in your head when you're dancing?
No, I had no music. It was weird.
Oh, that is.
Yeah.
Ciao, wow.
Ciao, wow.
So we're going to head over there now. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back next week. Make that vote for January's book. Remember, we're only doing 3 books this time. Read 38, stop at 39.
3 episodes.
3 weeks.
3 episodes, 3 shows. What did I say?
Book.
1 book.
1 book. You said 3 books.
3 shows for the 1 book. Bye, guys.
Bye.